Hey everybody, welcome to Photo Blue, and today I'm going to show you how to create an HDR image in Adobe Photoshop. HDR stands for High Dynamic Range, and it's a way of taking bracketed shots and combining them into one shot so that the different exposures that you have will be better for the shadows, and some will be better for the highlights, so you get kind of the best of all worlds. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to File, we're going to go to Automate, and we're going to go down to Merge to HDR Pro. Once here, there's a window that pops up, and we're going to go to Browse, and we're going to select the images that we want. And so I'm going to hold down the Control key and click on the images. In this case, I have 3 that I want in a separate folder for this demo. So the first one is normal, the second one is underexposed, and the third one's overexposed, and these are under and overexposed by about 3 stops. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click OK here, and so now they're all listed in this box right here. Now there's a check mark down here that you want to make sure is checked. It says attempt to automatically align source images. When you take an HDR photo, it's best to take it on a tripod, which this image was taken on. You can also do it handheld and use attempt to automatically align images. But even if you're using a tripod, it's a good idea to use attempt to automatically align source images in case there was any movement at all between the exposures. So I'm going to click OK here, and it will take a minute to load up all of the images. When you shoot the multiple exposures, you can use your auto bracketing on your camera to shoot the exposures, particularly if you're doing it handheld. That's very useful. But some cameras may not be able to bracket as much as others. With the camera I was using here, which was a Sony Alpha 6000, I was able to bracket it to 3 images and 3 stops between each image. You can use more or less images in an HDR photo, but the more images you use, the more artifacts there may be, and so that's something to be aware of. But the more images you use, the more dynamic range you can pull in extreme lighting situations. So if we look up here at the top right, there's a checkbox here that says remove ghosts. If you watch the water, if I click this, you can see the water has changed. In between these exposures, even though there was a fraction of a second in between each exposure, because it was auto bracketed, the water will move. So if you click remove ghosts, you can also select a reference frame. So right now the normal one is, if I click on a underexposed one, it will switch the water, or the overexposed one. So we can go through these, and you see the water actually changes because it's primarily using the information from the image that has this section of the photo in it. Usually by default, I believe it goes to the normal one, but if you want to use one of the other exposures, you can do that as well. So you may want to experiment turning that on and off, because you might like a particular effect that you get with it off, or you might not like the effect you get with it on for whatever reason. So that's something just to be aware of. We can adjust this histogram up here, but I have this checked off here, complete toning in Adobe Camera Raw, so that's what I prefer to do. So we're going to go down here to tone in Adobe Camera Raw, and we'll take a minute to open up the image. And once it opens up the image, it's going to open it up in Photoshop first, and then it's going to open it back up into Camera Raw. And when it calls that up, we can make our adjustments. Here it is right here. We can adjust any of these things, including color, temperature, and tint, exposure, highlights, and shadows. I'm going to brighten up the shadows somewhat here, and I'm going to take the highlights down a little bit. And let me see. I think I like that. We can adjust it later once it gets into Photoshop and use adjustment layers to do more fine tuning. But you kind of want to get it close to where you want it in here, just to bring in some more of the details, or as much as the details as you want to show up. And so it's better to actually do just kind of the rough draft in Camera Raw first. So once we get it the way we want it or close to it, we can click OK, and it will bring the photo into Photoshop here. And so we can see this image right here, and if I click on the original image, this is what the original normal image was. And so you can see the difference between the two right there. So it's a pretty extreme difference. You can see there's a lot more detail in the shadows here, and the sky is darker, and this column's a little bit darker. So it's more evenly lit, or it has a better range to it, a better feel to it. So that's how you create an HDR image in Adobe Photoshop. This has been Photo Blue, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.